Hey, good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I am Ken Walls and I'm your host. And I have a guy on today as the guest today that is this guy. Well, you'll see. He's hilarious. I want to welcome my buddy Joe Ingram to the show. Joe, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, good morning, Ken. I'm going to try to behave all day for this interview. I can't guarantee it. So the disclaimer is out. Obnoxious. He's just totally, unpredictable. Joe is on the road. I'm sorry. Dude, that's how it is.
I've gotten to know you pretty well over the last, I don't know, couple of weeks, really. We just started. I mean, we've been friends for a long time, I think, on Facebook.
Social media friends?
Yeah.
Sorry, let me get the camera right. Social media friends. Yeah.
Yeah. But so we connected and like, dude, you're pretty funny.
We're somehow related, I think, is what we determined.
I'm pretty sure.
Or we just had the same jacked up life, and
right.
that just gets it that way, right? Like if you look at all of the great comedians out there, it's all tragic, and that's what they came to, right? Yep. I just choose not to be depressed afterwards.
Dude, I was just talking to somebody yesterday about that because the Kevin Hart series on Netflix, I only saw that.
Yes, of course, yeah. Kevin Hart. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And Russell Peters live in India, that was unbelievably phenomenal as well.
Yeah. So I created this show a couple years ago to help people get unstuck. I think that, everybody goes through crap in life and we get stuck, and I believe that there's healing power in hearing other people's stories of overcoming that stuff. So why don't we start with we got Matt Koenig on. What's up, Matt?
Hello, Matt. You're just one moment away, Matt.
That's right. Moment. Don't forget that, Matt. One moment. So start
Matt's
with
rock star.
Start with
on my wall is the rock star poster on my wall.
It is?
Yeah. I'm not lying, dude. I'm so in.
Wow.
I'm so in. Look. I'm a rock star.
See what? That?
See that?
Where did you get that? I want one of those. Matt didn't send me one of those.
Yes. So Matt and I are tight like that. That's what happens.
I thought Matt and I were tight, but I don't have a rock star poster. So, wow. So, dude, tell everybody where you were born and raised.
Born and raised in Southern California. So I was actually born in Anaheim, which is down the street from Disneyland, which explains why I can get so goofy at times. Thank you. Yeah. Now, born and raised in lovely Southern California, where we have no weather. And so it's just sunny and gorgeous all the time. And
really?
Yeah. There's two things people in California can't do. Okay. And that is merge. Okay.
Merge
when the two lanes come together, right? Or if any drops of moisture hit your windshield, you must hit the brakes as harshly as possible. So we can't drive in the rain because we never see it. And of course we can't merge. So that explains a lot of the traffic that we have out here.
Right.
And I was taught from all my East Coast friends that in California, there's only two types of people, either fruits or nuts. And that's exactly how we look over here. So.
And which one are you?
I'm going to be crazy as hell is what it is. So, yes.
So you were born and raised in Southern. Is that like LA, San Diego?
A majority of it was between Orange County and LA County, back and forth. No San Diego. That's way too upscale and nice down there. So
it's beautiful down there.
Yes. So no, I was Yorba Linda. My mom liked to move every 3 years. So her thing was we buy a house. My dad owned his own business. So we'd buy a house. She'd buy a house, fix it all up. And when she got done with it in 3 years, the answer was, now let's go buy something else.
Really?
Yeah. So it was all right. But, humor helps when you go to a new school every 3 years. It's
wow.
It helps. Yeah. And by the time we're done, you'll understand I'm really just obnoxious most of the time. But it was a defense mechanism for my family because I'm the shyest and quietest one in the group.
Right.
So holidays are just brutal for
How many brothers and sisters?
I have one brother and I have two sisters.
Okay. Wow.
So,
and you're the youngest, oldest, or somewhere in the
well,
middle?
actually, I have a half sister that I've met once that's older than me. And that was a great thing when it happened, because then I can go blame my parents, because I was 19 at the time when they told me. I blamed my parents that I was now the middle child. Right. So I said, see, there's the problem. You guys always treated me like a Marsha. What's going on? But
dude, a lot of people have no idea what you just said.
Yeah, exactly. The whole millennial generation is like, I don't even know.
The Brady
good thing
Bunch.
Is my kids know because of Nick at Night from back in the day, but
right.
Yeah. So,
the Brady
but no,
Bunch.
Yeah, just the family. So my parents were foster parents. So
you were a foster child?
No, I was the one of my book titles that I haven't put out is the real kid in the foster home. And so So it was my brother and I for the longest time, and then after that it was we added kids. So I ended up with like over 20 little sisters that went through our house. Wow. So in the foster program, my mom had specified had to be girls that were under the age of 4. So that was what so we had that cycle through. So I will tell you that because I'm a parent myself, I understand that my parents did the best they could with every opportunity they had, because that's what I had to do when I became a parent. Yeah. And it was like, but as a child, you like to look back and go, oh, that's all screwed up. They did this, they did that. And I'm like, you know what? We just roll with it as it comes up. And as a child, you're just not going to like it most of the time. But
it's true.
Yeah, so we didn't understand.
You do the best you can.
Do what? Yeah, absolutely. That's the only thing you can do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's but yeah, my parents we didn't understand it. We just knew that my parents sat us down and said, look, we do okay, right? We're doing all right. We do this. We want to try to give back, and we want to be able to make a difference in a child's life that isn't getting the best experience that's out there. And we were like, we said, okay, we didn't know any different, but it was a life lesson that went through, because I ended up seeing, and again, a lot of the coping mechanism was humor. Right. So, but I was getting little sisters that came into the house. The state tells us, you need to feed them, bathe them, clothe them. Yeah. And provide them a good house, but don't fall in love with the children. You're just there until they can get placed someplace else. And it's like, I don't know how you do that, right? When something comes in that way. And so there was a lot of stuff that was, really difficult to handle as a child. Right. Growing up. So I'm like 10, 11, 12 kind of thing. So it was our first foster child came to us when she came in, 8 months old, arm in a cast, broken blood vessels in her eyes from getting hit so hard. I'm trying not to be depressive, but this is what happened. She had 7 broken ribs. And so that was our first little sister that came into the house. And so she was 8 months old, and she was with us for almost 3 years. So it was 2.5 years she was with us, but it got you to think that I ended up with little sisters that came into our house that they were there because of how crappy other adults were. Right. And so because they were crappy adults and treating the kids this way, it was really a bad situation that came in. So I got to see the bad parts of what's out there in society, right? So if you look at it, I was sitting on the other side of Law and Order SVU, right? And that's kids were coming to us that were abused, that were neglected, that were, just all in all abandoned, things like that. So sitting there, it was pretty horrifying as a child, understanding all of the stuff that got a child into our house, and we had to know, because how do we react? Right. My brother's 3 years younger than me. And so when you look at that, he's sitting at 7, 8, 9, having to deal with the same stuff I'm dealing with. kind of stuff. And my parents were great. They tried to help us understand everything. There was not a lot of sugarcoating, but it really developed this wall, not, the Ken breaking through walls kind of thing. It was tagged right back in.
Right.
Yes. So, but no, it really made thick skin, and it really made me hate people. And so
but it was these, you're talking about these children that were unfortunately, they were kind of jacked up by society. These kids caused you problems?
These kids came in with their problems and their issues. And so we have to be taught. I mean, so for example, the first little sister, the one that came in with the cast and what have you. So
8 months old.
8 months old, right? And so when she got the cast off, what was like, you have to find humor in all you can, but she, at 8 months old, when she got the cast off, she would then sit down and fall the other way because she was so used to counterbalancing the weight of the cast and stuff. But so we didn't know. We were brand new. Our neighbor up the street was a foster parent. My mom said, wow, this is a great way to give back. She got involved with the program. My dad supported it. And so us kids, we were thrown into it. And we did. We want to help. We want to make sure we can. But when we sat there and you looked at it, right, this little kid, when her mother came for visitations, okay, she was allowed once a month to come for visitations. So she came for visitation. So she if she showed up on like the first week, for 2 weeks straight, the child would have nightmares. And
God.
Wake up in the middle of the night, blood curdling screams, this and that. And so again, as far as being a child going through it, I didn't understand a lot of it, but I knew I had to participate.
Yeah,
so
right.
What happened was my mom would get up in the middle of the night, go grab the baby, pick her up, right, take her out of the room. And the child couldn't recognize you. She was so trapped in the abuse from before, the physical abuse. You would pick her up, take her out. My mom would walk her through the entire house. So she would walk her in, show my dad sleeping, say, look, there's daddy, boom, boom, come down to my room. There's Joey's room. Look, Joey's there. Go to my brother's room, show the other kids that were sleeping. Then she'd go downstairs, show her the kids' room, the toy room. Wow. She'd go outside. We had a large German Shepherd that was very protective. So she would go down, and the dog knew as soon as she started crying, the dog went and sat by the door because we were going to go down and show her the dog. Gotcha. And then my mom would come upstairs and hand her to my dad. Wow. And then my dad would go through the same routine. And then I knew after she started screaming, because she's still hysterical.
And this is the middle of the night.
This is middle of the night. And then the answer was, okay, it's my turn. So now it's my turn. So then I take her, show her, there's mom, dad, there's this, go all the way around till the point where she can actually and come back to it. But then it would just go night after night after night after night. Yeah. And then finally get to the point where you got 2 weeks apiece, and you're like, okay, great. And then another visitation, and then boom, you start all over again with this. And that went on for years.
So she stayed with you for years.
She was with us for 2.5 years.
Okay.
So it was my first little sister, my dad's first little girl, kind of deal. And then the state awarded her back to her mother. And so she went back to her mother. She was there. So all of a sudden it's like, here's your sister, and then goodbye, your sister left. Yeah. And so it rocked the family, but we had kids that kept coming through the house. Some were there for months, some were there for years. And we had to deal with all of the trauma that they brought in to try to be more of a whole family so that they can feel what it's like and to go through. And so my two sisters were adopted.
So in all this time though, you like, you're going to school, you have extracurricular sports, you doing any sports? What do you have going on outside of all that?
So my dad owned his own business. He owned gas stations. Okay. At the time. So before school, so I've been working at a gas station from when I was 7 till I was 19. And so we would get up in the morning, go to the gas station before school. I'd pump gas, go through, wash windows, Then I would jump in the car, go to school, come back. My dad would pick us up. We'd go back to the gas station, or if mom picked us up, we got to go home and do homework. So Mike Lopez. Yeah. Every day. If you follow me on Instagram, you're going to find that I'm at Starbucks every day. But I like to say every day because me and Drake, we hang out.
Right.
Yeah.
So did you play sports? You end up going to high school playing sports and
baseball.
Okay.
Baseball was the thing that was there. I had a big attitude, surprisingly, when I got to high school.
Yeah.
I don't do well still to this day with people telling me what to do.
Yeah,
so,
I feel you. We are definitely brothers.
Yes. So my favorite saying all the time whenever people used to walk out and go, hey boss, have a good night. I go, don't tell me what to do.
I know.
And they all go, what? Well, then don't have a good night. And I go, don't tell me what to do. That's still you telling me. I'll have whatever kind of night I want to have.
Right.
And they all sit there and go, and one guy finally figured it out and he goes, hey, Joe. I'm like, yeah. He goes, I wish you a good night. And I'm like, there you go. And I wish you a good one as well. Yeah. Right. But
so
definitely built it up.
Did you end up going to college?
I left. So I finished high school. I went to JC for a year. Okay. They didn't care I was there. I didn't care I was there. It was a mutually beneficial relationship at that point. I took like some psych classes, some microeconomics, macros. And then I was like, if you don't care, I don't care. And then some salty from YouTube. Hey, some salty. Yes. So, then I turned around and went to ITT Tech. Yeah. It was one that came out that you didn't have to go through all the let's go back through English and all the stuff we're not going to use, right? And I did the AP classes. I had to go to a different school from high school to go have the AP physics and stuff like that. These different schools to go to it. But I was never, nothing more than C, maybe a B. I didn't get straight A's until my senior year. So, my philosophy is never be normal. Normal people get normal paychecks. And when you look all the way back into high school, everybody else got really good grades and then they started ditching on their senior year, right? And they started getting a dip in their grades. I was completely opposite. For my entire scholastic career was if he would only apply himself. Right. That's all the thing was. If he would just apply himself. My parents always said, if you put half the effort into doing what you're supposed to do and, of the effort you put in avoiding it.
Yep.
Right. And go through. And so that was one of those lessons. But yeah, I went and I got my associate's degree in electronic engineering. And then I got picked up by an aerospace company this first year. It's a 2-year program. After the first year, I got picked up and putting into that program. So
wow, dude.
So I got picked up by it was TRW at the time, not the credit, the aerospace division that's now Northrop Grumman somebody. But I went to work there at the age of 19, and then because of my work ethic from growing up in I gotta love me some Mike Lopez on that one. So because I already knew how to work since I'd been working my whole life, I ended up becoming like the youngest line supervisor. So I was in charge of one thing. But they sat me down when I was 19 years old. They said, here, and put in front of me at the time. Now, I'm very young, but at the time, they sat me in front of a $120,000 piece of testing equipment and said, this is your baby that comes through. A year later, I bought a condo for $99,000.
Jeez.
So at that time, they dropped this thing in there and they were like, okay, this is what you're going to use. This is what you do. And so, I sat down, I embraced everything I'm supposed to work on. And that's what I did. So, I was like one of 2 people in the nation that could do a certain testing and building of stuff. And I have to be careful because I have a top secret government clearance and they're always watching. So, yes, I built that up. I've had the experiences where you get the phone call at home and you get to put on a plane and flown to the other side of the country.
Yeah.
You put a hood over your head, walk through so you can go fix something
Right.
that is sitting someplace to go, here, you have to fix it. You're the only person that can electrically make it the same, this and that. And so
I'm saying, yeah, like I've been there, but I
right. Well, of
haven't.
course. Yeah.
Yeah.
My life was pretty much like an episode of 24. And I'm
Right.
Kiefer Sutherland.
Love
Yeah.
that.
Or not as dramatic as that.
Right. So a little bit more like I want just to backtrack a little bit in your childhood. Did you find yourself in did you get in any trouble? Like you kind of seem like you probably got arrested a lot as a kid.
Yeah, no, and the file has been sealed, so you couldn't find that out if I did.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, I did. It was funny because in school it was very polarizing in the fact that teachers either loved me and protected me, or they were like, "Get this child out of my class now."
Right.
So, I was never diagnosed with ADHD, and I am now. But with ADHD, I thought I'd be thinner, but the hyperactivity evidently is just mental. But when my son got tested, because his mother said, "Oh, we've got to get you tested. We got to get this and that," and I was like, "Okay." So he goes and gets tested. And we sit down, we're both sitting on the couch and we're both bouncing our leg together and we're looking around. And the doctor goes, "You scored a 98 on the test." And I look at him and I'm like, "Dude, you couldn't even ace it? What's up with that?"
Oh my God.
And so the doctor goes, "No, that is the highest you can get." And I was like, "Well, yeah." So we're high-fiving on the table. And then the doctor looks and goes, "Well, evidently it's hereditary and we know which side of the family he gets." Right.
Wow.
And so, and I took that as a dig. So I got really arrogant and I said, "You do understand that I have to make more than your hourly rate for me to afford your hourly rate and to pay for this? Because let's be real, that's what's happening here." And the guy was like, and I looked at my son and I said, "ADD is a label that's placed on people that are smarter than the average."
Yep.
Because you get bored. Right. Yep. And again, as a trainer now, I understand, like, when you go through a room and you work the room to make sure your students understand and people get what's there. Right. For one, I use humor a lot to get the message across, which makes me different than a lot of people. But when you look at it, I said, people get into the groove of things and somebody drives 20 miles an hour, Prius. Yeah. And then they got somebody else who's driving 50 miles an hour. But when you're up in the front of the room trying to get a message across, you have to deliver one at 20 miles an hour and one at 50 miles an hour and then maybe one at 90 miles an hour. But the 90 mile an hour kid.
And then there's those of us that drive 140 miles an hour.
Nice. Nice. My record is 161.
Wow.
On my way back from Vegas. But I was, I was operating legally. That was there. But yeah. So I've always been a complete race car driver. And that's where I got in trouble. Right. My poor parents had to pay for insurance. Was bad. There's Bob Donnell. That's somebody you need to know, Ken. That's a connection I'm going to make later.
Hey, Bob.
You got to know Bob. Bob is a fantastic human being. So he's one of my best friends and mentors. So
that's awesome. Well, Bob, I look forward to getting to know you. So so here you are now. So you get.
I warned you, ADD. I know. All over the place. I went to 25, 30. Yeah, we're back. Now I'm 3.
This is like herding cats.
Yes.
So you were working in this. Was it a government job?
Our customer was the government.
Okay.
So it was a privately held, well, an actual, you can buy shares kind of deal.
Did you stay at that job for a while, or?
I was there for 10 years. And so I became the youngest supervisor, youngest team leader, youngest division leader. Right. Thank you. Yeah. Mike's on my Wednesday call with me too. He's just as much of a squirrel as it's there. I warned Ken yesterday,
He
Mike.
did.
The exact thing I said, it's going to be like squirrel the whole time through.
He's like, he said, I'm known for yelling squirrel like 4 or 5 times a day.
Yes.
So you worked there for 10 years. Did you quit or did you get fired? Or
I chose to leave because it was aerospace. And so, like, when I got there was a department of 30 people.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, after like probably 8 months, it was a department of 3, and I was one of the 3 that stayed. So when we started building back up, I was able to take over leadership of the team.
Gotcha.
But for 10 years, it was, all funding's on hold, lay everybody off. And then, okay, now call them all back.
Yeah.
And see if they'll come back. And it was that game back and forth. And that was really tough mentally going back and forth. So at the end of the 10-year run, I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep doing this. And so I walked away.
And where did you go? Where did you go from there? Like you left there and did what?
It's not going to make any sense. It's going to be very squirrel. But I went to work
McDonald's general manager.
Yeah, I went to go work at a criminal defense law firm.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yes, you could totally see electrical engineer bounced to criminal defense. So I'm not a lawyer, right? Because people's lip doesn't have to go up when they go, "Oh, really? You're a lawyer?" Yeah. So, but they had interviewed for a call center manager. I didn't ever work in a call center, but I went and interviewed. Went through a panel of 14 different people. So when I got to the end, the owner and his wife were sitting there and they were like, hey, based on what we've all learned and seen, I think you can build a team, right? You've had people that got laid off, came back, got laid off, came back for 10 years with you. I think you can build a team.
And a team for what? And like, was this the O.J. Simpson trial thing?
No. This was
a team for what?
It was a criminal defense law firm in Santa Monica.
Okay.
And so what we did was, this is when AOL started becoming big.
Right.
The when you log on. Yeah. So AOL was big. Yes. You got mail. They when you look at it, everybody would go, if you got a DUI, if you got arrested for anything, you went to the phone book, right? And we were in every phone book across in 2 states.
Yep.
And so and then we went online. So, but all those leads would come in and funnel into the call center in Santa Monica. So it was a big marketing thing on how do you get this person, right? And can you put out a getoutajail.com when it came out, things like that. And so we did all these advertisements, and then the phone would ring in Santa Monica. So we put together an actual team in Santa Monica that would take the phone calls. And then there was me on the inside sales team, and then there was another guy on the outside sales team named Lou, and he was the one that he ran the outside team. The outside team was retired police officers. Okay. So they didn't give any legal advice, but they could tell you the bad side of what's going to happen. And so they would turn around, and so we would then set appointments. So I had giant maps on the wall. So you can see my green screen, right? That would be like 2 maps of the states that we're in. And so we would get a phone call, find out where you were. We were in Michigan and we were in California, were the 2 states we had. So then I had to learn traffic patterns, had to learn, that this much on the map meant it was going to take them over an hour. And if it was during rush hour or things like that, we had to figure out where they went and how to get there. So my team would build out a day for the outside rep, and we had like 8 reps.
Okay.
So I would sit down and go, oh, so-and-so's in Kalamazoo. Oh, so if they're in Kalamazoo, then we can flip this appointment over there and we can fill 2 people. This one's going to go pick up a retainer on a big case, right? And so they would go back, and then all of a sudden you build a day of like 8 appointments for somebody to physically go meet with people. And then they go, hey, somebody just came in and I need to go pick up some money. And so now the whole day gets wiped, and you got to get on the phone and go move all these people to a different day or try to get another rep to take over the appointments. And we did that back and forth during the day. And it took, and again, I didn't know what I was doing, but it was the first time somebody offered me commission. So the owner sat with me and he said, hey, I know you've been working the pseudo government job thing. He said, I'll guarantee your salary that you're making. He said, and I'll offer you commission, and whichever one's greater after the first month, you decide what you're going to do. Right. And I doubled my salary after the first month, and I've never looked back. I'm not a big fan of let's give everybody a big guarantee. Let's go through. My answer is let's work and earn it. Because when I worked aerospace, I had an employee that had worked at that company for 2 years longer than I had been alive.
Wow.
And he had the same job in the corner, but because he'd been there forever, he was literally making more money than me, the one that's responsible for all the budget, 20 people, right? I had 20, at the biggest point, I had 24 staff. We worked 7 days a week and we were around the clock, 24 hours. So my little pager would go off and all the stuff that was there. So when I went to the law firm, it was refreshing that it didn't last that long. Right.
And how long were you at that law firm?
I was there for 2 years.
Okay.
I tripled revenue in 9 months.
Okay.
And so they were at $300,000 a month when I got there. It was $1 million a month that we went after that. And we just went and we built up. But I built an inside phone team. I built the team that could take a phone pop and convert that customer into an actual sale without having to send somebody out.
So you ended up, did you quit the law firm? Did things?
Yeah. So here's what happened. And this was like one of those gut wrenching life moments that happened.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there. So I lived in Chino Hills. And so in California, that's about 60 something miles from Santa Monica.
Mm-hmm.
And in Santa Monica during rush hour, 4 miles will take you an hour. So I would get to work. I'd leave my house at 6 a.m. so I could be to work by 8. When I got to work at 8, I would stay until 10 p.m. and then I would drive home because it would take me 40 minutes to get home at 10 o'clock, or I could leave at 7 and get home at 9. So it was brutal, but I stayed there and did it. And so what I didn't realize when I interviewed with the owner, when he came up, he told me when he went to hire me and say I had the job, he said, "Hey, I just want you to understand, when we do a great job, the public is really upset with us." And I looked at him, I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about." He goes, "If we get a really good result for our client, then everybody's mad about that." And I looked at him and I said, straight in the eye, I said, "Look, I'm morally and ethically challenged. Show me the money." And he was like, "Okay, let's go." So 2 years into this, I'm sitting there. Somebody calls in from, because we're now in 9 states. So somebody in Pennsylvania, it's 9:30 at night. He's calling to talk to his attorney. And then I'm like, well, of course, it's after midnight there. The attorney's not going to be able to be there. But I was like, okay, fine. Let me page him and then wait. And then I walked in and I read the file. And as I was sitting there with my 2 supervisors, all of a sudden, I just sat there crying. And I realized the total flip that happened in my life. We went from protecting children from these people, and I'm now working at the place that defends these people. Right. And I'm reading the letters and I'm reading the stuff that's in there, and I'm just crying. And I just was like, I can't do this. And so at 11 o'clock, it took me a while to get composed, but at 11 o'clock, I shut down the office. We walked out, and both my supervisors were like, "Dude, we can see this on your face. What's going on?" I said, "Guys, I just got to go." And so I called the owner, woke him up, and I said, "Hey, I'm out of here. I can't do this." And he said, he on the phone, he says, "Joe, you lasted longer than I thought you would."
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh, wow." And so I just immediately jumped off. I was like, I was done. I didn't know what to do at that point. I didn't have anything lined up, but it was such a conflict internally to say, my parents taught me to help these kids, and now I'm helping the people that put the kids in our home that were there.
And so you left there, and I can understand that. So you left there, and at some point you got into the car business.
That was where I jumped. So I answered an ad at that point. So somebody was looking for a call center manager, and I was like, "Hey, I just made this work really well." So I jumped in. It was a newspaper still at the time. So I opened the newspaper, saw an ad, answered the ad, and went in. And that was me jumping into the car business in 2000.
And you ran. So and I'm not in the car business. So
please stay away. It's for your own sanity.
Right. Yeah. So you car dealerships have call centers?
Yes. So that was the big push at that point in time. And so I went to work for a little company called Auto Nation. And so
I've heard of them.
Yeah, they had these used car superstores, and then they were moving into the franchise stores, and a company had done a pilot program with them where Your sales department is typically really good at selling a customer face to face, but it doesn't always work if the customer calls you first, or at that point, since the internet started coming out, they would then they would send in internet leads, and these leads would come in, but the guys weren't adept at handling them because they weren't as serious to them because they weren't walking on the lot.
Right.
And so when you got there, they built what's called a business development center. And a business development center meant we built a call center that handled the virtual customers and converted them into real people on a showroom floor that can do it, right? And at that time, we had newspaper ads where it was 1 at this price or 2 at this price, and it was in a physical paper. And so with the call center part, you got to drive traffic to the store by answering the questions, bringing them in. They got to meet with a manager downstairs, and then they got shown inventory.
Okay.
That was there. So that was where I went.
So, and I think that, Weldon's a buddy of mine. He owns a car dealership.
At that time, they only had like 160 stores as opposed to the 230 or 250 they have now. Maybe even over 300 they don't use trainers other than their own, so I don't keep up with them.
So wow, that's interesting. So, and I remember, back, because I built my first website in 1994. I always joke and say me and Al Gore invented the internet.
Yes.
But
we do thank Al for all of his contributions.
Yes. So you, I can remember though, when leads would come in the business I was in off of the internet, we never really took them serious for some reason.
And that was where we were. And when I took in 2000, they gave me 2 dealerships. They were both owned by they did a pilot program of 10 dealerships.
Yeah.
So at the end of a year, there was 3 that were still running, right? Or there was 4 that were still running. 1 closed down right after that, but 2 of them were mine.
Wow.
And one of them was existing before they did the pilot, which is why they tried to do the pilot. And so I had 2 stores. They were side by side. It was Lexus of Cerritos and Toyota of Cerritos. And so they sat right next to each other in the Cerritos Auto Square. Yeah. And but at that time, what was fantastic was we would get 4,000 ups a month at the Toyota store.
Wow.
There's 4,000 people a month walking on the lot. We used to get little up cards, right? You had to manually fill it out. There was no grab your phone and plug it into the CRM. It was, I ran a team upstairs. They would turn in all the cards with what car they were looking for. And then we would go in and manually, I had 2 people that manually typed in all the customer information into our CRM tool so that we could begin follow up and going after that. And so, and it hasn't changed much today. When you look at it, the number's still above 80% of the people that leave a name and phone number at a dealership never get a call back. And so it's just amazing. So when you look at it and say, hey, we're going to call these people and follow up, because I want to know, what experience did you get? What did we mess up on? And if there's still an opportunity to save the deal, right? Mm-hmm. And so it was a unique thing back in the day. So, I mean, I remember when this horrible place came out on the web that gave away all of our secrets and stuff like that. It was called Edmunds.com. They went out as that customer advocate, and they gave away all the secrets that were in the car business. And so it was like an Edmunds lead came in, you were like, no, okay. I don't want to call this person and stuff. And so since then they've modified their program, and they're a great lead provider today. But when you look at it in the beginning, the answer was they were disrupting. Their answer was, I have to disrupt. And how do you disrupt the automotive industry? You lay out the secrets. Let's go in and do this and stuff like that. So it was definitely a scary time, but we would get the leads. I mean, we were talking at the time, I'll tell you, because it was all new and we didn't know what a good lead was, what was a bad lead or anything like that. We had like 10,000 leads that came into the Toyota store. Thank you, Weldon. For believing. Yes.
I've had salespeople, you were talking about the, putting that you had people that were like, hey, put this information, this data in the CRM. And you know, I've had every CRM that exists, not automotive related, but every other, like every CRM. And you know, literally last night I was entering something into my CRM and I'm like, God, I suck at this. Like, this is bad.
True.
Like,
It's true.
where's all the other information that I should have put in there every single day this past year? And this is the first time in 365 days I've used it. And so a CRM, like I'll bet you that when you had people that were responsible, that was their only duty is enter data into the CRM. It was probably what the song from Archie Bunker. Those were the days. Like suddenly, like
yes,
because you know the data was way better then than relying on salespeople. And no offense to salespeople, I am one, but we suck at entering data.
Yeah, and so this it was funny because the CRM was new, and then with the CRM being new, the only team that had it was the business development center upstairs.
Right.
The salespeople, the cards were in triplicate.
Yeah.
So they would fill out the card. They would keep the hard copy in the back. We would give us the top copy, and the middle copy went to their manager. Wow. And so they all had these little files on their desk, the little calendar, and then you would go move it and move it and move it. So
yeah.
Lewis, good morning. And so that was what they did, and then we loaded in the software. But at that time, the server for that was just a computer under my desk.
Yeah.
And so everybody upstairs, all their computers were linked to mine.
Yeah.
That was there. And again, but at the same time, if you stop and understand that certain people have a gift. So I was hiring college students because we're open 7 days a week. We were open from 8 a.m. till 9 o'clock at night. The answer was, you know what we could do? I could cover part-time shifts. And so I could have people that came in on a couple days. They just worked on the stuff. And because they were college students, I gave them a script. They left. They came home. They came the next day for another portion, sat down, and they already memorized it.
Yeah.
It was just like all the stuff they were doing. So I got this going, but I had my BDC was 7 people in sales and 15 people in sales, 7 in service. So, and the goal is what? All of the information coming into a dealership gets changed, converted into appointments for people to show up. So the customer gets a better experience. They met with a manager first.
Yeah.
Right. We had floor managers out there, and that was what we put together. But nobody wants to just sit in front of a computer all day. If I'm a salesperson, especially in the automotive realm, right, is that I want to be face to face with a customer. That's where I shine. And so when you take me and go put me in a cubicle and you say, here, dial the phone all day, by the time they get to the 5th call that nobody answered, they're already defeated. And they're I dial forever and nothing happens. What are you talking about?
One of my best friends, if not my best friend, is Frank Cranitti, who's, you know, between him and Ali Rita, they're the top two.
I love me some Ali Rita.
I do too. I love that dude. I just met him. I was in Detroit and stopped by and hung out with him for a little bit. But I like Frank and I have had this conversation on screen, actually. Like, there is an automation happening in the world. There's something occurring in the car business and every other industry where it's just click, 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 delivered.
Yeah.
Like, there's no salesperson involved.
Right.
And
you need a delivery specialist.
Right.
That's what you need.
Right.
Somebody who knows the product and can deliver it.
Right. I mean, it's coming to a place where it really is going to come down to, you know, customer service is what's going to, I think, I could be wrong. I don't know the car business that well, but I know a lot of people in it. And it seems like there's this huge customer service thing.
Again, so here's what I've noticed. And I train this with people as I go through. I say, look, if you go to Google, you may have heard of it. I think Al Gordon did it too. Yeah. So there's a Google machine and you just type in this phrase. And if you type in used car salesperson, okay. Right. So back in the day when you had newspapers, we used to say, were you above the fold or below the fold?
Right.
On now we're a digital world. I say above the scroll or below the scroll.
Right.
You have to scroll down to see it.
Yep.
If you type in used car salesperson, there's like 2 positive images and all the rest look horrible.
Yep.
Okay. Then if you type new car salesman, you're going to have 9 of them, right? Of the 15 that are across there that are positive.
Yep.
And if you just type car salesman, it's about 50-50. But
right.
and I give the actual why it happened. Okay. So a bunch of Honda dealers in Southern California came up with an idea for an advertising campaign. And they said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to say that we're helpful Honda people. And in the beginning, they made these commercials that were very, very atrocious in my mind. The answer was, hey, guess what? The guy shows up at somebody's door and goes, well, I'm here to be helpful. And they're like, well, the jump house isn't here. And so the guy goes in the backyard in his helpful blue Honda shirt, lays down, and there's children jumping on him.
Wow.
Or an overweight guy says, I have to change the light bulbs. And now the Honda guy has this sweaty guy on his shoulders walking him through the house as the guy's sweating all over him.
Yeah.
But what they did was, if you look at it and I say, this is the bad image of a car salesperson, because we did have a bad image, right? So looking at it, they said, our people are not bright enough to take advantage of you. They just want to be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So the swing went all the way over here for new cars.
Right.
And so it said, look, we're just so that. And so it brought up our image here. So now when you look at it, people can say you're a professional salesperson if you said new cars.
Right.
If you say used cars, it's still looked at as, the shady lot down the street that happens. And if you look, dealerships are held to so much of a higher standard because of that digital gun. There's 2 of them, Yelp, Google, right? That the customer gets to hold to your head to say, I'm going to go in there and give you a bad Yelp review.
It's the same with, and people don't get it. I have I've spent thousands of dollars on a Sonos system for my home, and every room, right? And so they sent out an email the other day saying, hey, by the way, if your system's basically, I forget what it was, 6 or 7 or 8 years old, which mine is, we're no longer going to support it. You get no software updates, and it's probably going to stop working.
Nice.
I was like,
you should have bought an extended warranty.
I'm like, wait a minute. How do speaker systems go bad? Are y'all crazy? So, and I traded in a Bose system for that, right? And so I went to Twitter, and I went to Instagram, and I went to Facebook, and I went to their page on Facebook, and there were thousands upon thousands of people complaining, blasting them, profanity, like seriously, the entire freaking customer base went to the social media. And so yesterday I get an email from the CEO saying, psych, we were kidding. Right.
It was totally just a joke. April Fools. We're just early. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And people need to realize that like it, and that's what one of the, like, Frank Crinitti, Frank's like, man, he delivers a customer service experience like nobody, literally nobody. And I watched Ali Rita when I was up there, and I'm like, these guys are at the top of the game, like literally at the top of the game. So what you're talking about is absolutely the truth, man. And people need to realize.
Google and Amazon are both spending money about trying to sell cars online.
Yeah.
Right. They're spending it. When so again, I was in the car dealership world and I kept going, but twice now as a GSM, I've taken dealerships to 1,000 units a month.
Wow.
And your average new car store is less than 200 used cars. It's like 120 something across the nation. But I took them to 1,000 cars a month. One was before the 2008. And then the most recent one was 2015. And so, but that was me in the stores. But I will tell you that when I was in the store in Huntington, when we got that one to 1,000 units a month, the owner and I met every week. And every week we had an hour-long meeting to say, how do we make it more like a drive-through? How do we make it an in and out in an hour situation?
Right.
Right. And that's what we looked at. And it was that was everything we did. But I'll tell you that like we had a sales board, right? Everybody has a sales board. Ours was a 60-inch TV turned sideways so we can support all of the cars we were selling. But it was a Google Doc. So every sales manager can type in
Nice.
what's going on. And then that was the order that it should be handled for gas and wash. But we had a computer system in the wash rack. And in the wash rack, there was a wash rack manager. His job was to watch it. And if within 10 minutes of them putting it on that sheet, if he didn't have the slip to give to the guy with the car keys from the salesperson, then he would get on there, and we all had a two-way radio app on our phone because we'd gone are the days of Nextels. So we would use this little app and we'd go, hey, I haven't got that car yet. Hey, I haven't got that car yet. And so the manager was held to did you get it in and out of the wash rack in under 30 minutes? So he needed every time frame he could get because it had to be gassed and washed in that 30 minutes. So when the person was in finance, they would come out to a car that was sitting out front ready to be delivered. And
this is for a delivery, like a new car, new
car delivery. Pair the phone, enter their navigation if they had it, go over the features and benefits that you neglected on the walk around, and get to that point.
So
but
what are
all systems?
What are you, man? I cannot. We're already at 51 minutes.
Sorry.
No, dude. This has been awesome. So what are you doing now? Because I know you're not working at a car dealership, right?
No. So it was a little over 2 years ago. Had a conversation with the owner. Came in. I had a store, 51% year over year increase. Owner came in, said, yeah, I'm going to give your job to my friend because he needs one. And so at that point I walked out. My lovely bride looked at me and said, will you stop with your side hustle? Because I would still train other dealerships that weren't in my PMA.
Yeah.
And I was nicknamed because of all of my transactions in the BDCs. I was called the BDC genius is what they put out there. And that was the nickname I went by. So I was like, you know what? I just need to jump full bore instead of building BDCs, in other cities or zones. I should just do it full time. And so I did that. But, I've worked at Joe Verdi Group. I've worked with Grant. We've had a lot of fun building stuff together, and it's a good thing, man. The car business is fun. I've since branched out. Anytime there's something virtual that needs to get converted. So I work with eBay companies. I work with chiropractor offices that run ads, and they have to get somebody off of Facebook into their location. Dentist offices. I work with insurance companies when you got to convert a lead. Things like that. So I jump around all over. Primarily, my business is automotive.
Yeah.
And so I just helped one of my clients go from number 13 in the nation, number 10. Right. Wow. And so 3 places, and there's 3,300 dealerships. So that was a big jump. And
so you, you primarily are working with car dealers.
Yeah, I'll say 80% of my business is done with automotive.
Okay. And you're helping them with their
e-commerce division, phones. I do face-to-face sales as well.
Okay.
So, I can teach them that way. The only thing I don't like, during my 4 years with AutoNation, I went from GSM, got to the 1,000 units. Then they said, we pull 70% of our GMs from service. So then I went to the service department and ran the service department with another manager. Okay. And we had it took me 90 days. Then we set records for the next 9 months. And then the opportunity came up to say, hey, now we need a GM at this location. I was like, hey, I killed it in sales. I'm killing it in service. This is all me. And then they said, no. They said, we're going to take somebody else because you've only been here for 4 years. And this guy's been with the store for 12 years. And you know what? He deserved it. He was there for 12 years. And so my ego couldn't handle it.
Right.
So I was like, hey, I'm a shining star. I'm this, I'm that. So then I quit and went to another store where it took me another 6 months before I became GM. So it took 4.5 years in the car business to get to that point of being a GM. And then I realized that the ladder I climbed was against the wrong wall. And so climbed back down, went to work at the Joe Verdi Group, trained his people. But at that, so if you look, the call center at the law firm, the BDC, then when I left being a GM at the store, I went to Joe Verdi Group and trained his inside sales team. And so all I was doing was teaching them over the phone. And there's a different way to communicate over the phone and through email than when you do it face to face. And so that's where you look at and say, are you directing every opportunity you have? And since my sales team wants to think that it's not, like I did a call the other day and one of the guys goes, I can't get these millennials to talk to me. I said, ask them what their cell phone number is and text them while you're in front of them.
Yes.
And he's like, what? I go, they don't have an issue with texting. They don't have an issue with email. They don't have this issue that we sit back and go, I need to see your face to do it. I'm like, we don't need this. We don't need to meet you to sell a car.
Right.
And I had built that at the Nissan store, which was, I called it click and pick. So you can click and pick up your car.
Yeah.
And it was all just work. I worked with software developers to try to get it to make it a lending tree experience that says, here's your car and stuff like that, because that's the way it's going. I think
Carvana is real. Carvana is real.
But I still think it's going to take another 8 years for the public to feel that. Now, used cars, I don't think we'll ever get to that point where you click and buy a used car, because I don't feel comfortable. But when you look at new cars, you can. New cars, you can do it. And then guess what? And on Amazon, over 50% of the pop-ups that say, do you want to buy this extra protection? People say yes.
Wow.
I'm buying an item for $20 and I'm going to give you $4 now.
Yeah.
Right. So I can protect it for 4 years. And it's like, and so people are going to get extended service contracts because there's value in it. They're going to get gap insurance. They're going to get these things, key replacements and stuff like that. All of that's just going to be pop-ups and say, do you want it? Do you want it? Do you want it? And you take whatever's there.
There's something, that I think in the used car business, there's something, and I'm not in the business. I'm talking about from a consumer's perspective, seeing a legitimate dealer and their 50-point inspection, or whatever, right?
Yeah, if we're doing it right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, okay, it's been through the 50-point inspection. I'm a buyer then,
Yes.
Because if I bought it from some guy off of eBay, it's not had a 1-point inspection.
Correct.
Right.
Well, again, on eBay, I can sell it to you where it's not safe to drive.
Right.
Because what am I going to do? Do a Yelp review on a person? No.
Right. Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
Right.
So let me ask you this, and we haven't talked a lot about, we've talked about your journey and what you've done to create success and yourself and for other people. And this show is about helping people break through.
Yeah.
And so in your opinion, what do you think? And you've dealt with a lot of people over the years.
Yeah.
That's why you got the gray hair.
That's a true statement.
I know.
Look, and I'm like, it just keeps getting this. Let's just grow it and embrace it.
I know. That's why I refuse to deal with people. I don't want the gray hair. I'm just kidding. So what do you think, in your opinion, what's the number one thing that holds people back in life, that keeps them from achieving their dreams?
So I will tell you, and again, just from my perspective that's out there, it's language. It's what is it you say to yourself and what do you say to the people you're engaging with? And so when I go in and I train people, right, when I go train them, I'm teaching them a different way to speak. And when I teach them a different way to speak, you get a different outcome. Right. One of the things, like I always tease everybody and go, every dealership I walk into, if somebody says no problem, they all go, oh, is Joe here? Because Joe's going to yell at you. Right. And I say, if you understand how your brain is working, right. And I've spent a lot of time in classes and understanding this stuff, but your brain can't process the negative.
Right.
So if I said, Ken, right now, Ken, do not think of a kitten. Right. What popped in your head? The kitten. So when you say no problem to somebody, you just introduced a problem. So whatever I introduce has to be there, then to put that little red slash and circle around it to take it away. So there's times where you go, hey, no problem. And the person looks at you and goes, are you sure? Because you unconsciously just made them uneasy because they don't know what problem you sidestepped. So there's only one fast food chain that we give a day off to.
Yep.
And it's the one that changed their language and they say, my pleasure.
Yep.
right? And so we're like, go ahead, take the day off. It's okay. We'll just wait till Monday to eat a chicken sandwich. Right?
Right.
But that's because they taught us a different way. They spoke to us differently, and that elevated. Whether or not they give you better service is irrelevant. I know there's somebody at Jack in the Box that went out and helped a customer who had a flat tire in the parking lot.
Yep.
Just nobody posts about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so again, the answer is, are you changing your language? There's way too many examples that I can give you in the car business about how we say things incorrectly to a customer. Because everything I say, thank you, Maria, everything I say in the car business or in life, I put a picture in somebody's head of what's there. Right. So if you open up and, De Niro did one of the car business scenes, right? But it's sad. It's said a lot. So Weldon, I say my pleasure. Absolutely. Certainly. Okay. Or what I change it to depending on the situation. But when you look at this, you pop the trunk of the car and what's the running Italian joke, right? You see that? You can put like 4 dead bodies in there, right? So no matter what do you just have to picture? You had to picture dead bodies in a trunk, and we think it's funny, but you had to put the picture in there. And then we wonder why the customer doesn't want to go for a drive around the block. And I never use the word test drive because that's part of a sales process. So I always say, let's take it for a spin, right? And it's all about language. It's all about what you're telling the person, right? And understand the bad words we're telling to a customer, not derogatory words. I'm saying when we put bad images in their head, those are the same things we put in our own head when something happens and go, oh, I'm such an idiot. Yep. Well, you're just reinforcing yourself that you're an idiot as opposed to, oh, I made a mistake. I'll fix it next time. So it's just a different sense of, and you can tell my language, I'm out there, but I won't be tripping up people with bad pictures that are there. And so it's just, again, to me, it's fun. And if I can teach you a different way to speak so you get a different way to get a different result, right? And everybody knows the saying, if you do the same thing over and over, expect different results, that's insanity. And I say, well, let's just change your language. Let's just pick different words. Right. If you pick different words, you get different reactions, and different reactions come in. But with salespeople, I teach you body language. I teach you how you actually can do it. I can teach you words to say to move a customer through the process. And so I don't have to look at somebody and say, like I am in a dealership every other day. And I always will sit there and I hear somebody go, so what does it take to make a deal with you right now? And I'm like, weak suck. Weak suck. Right. And I'm like, come on, there's 2 closes in the car business, right? I worked at Joe Verdi. I know this one. Sean told me all the time. He said, Sean Gardner, he said, you either say, if I could, would you, or let me get the invoice. Right. Those are the 2 closes. And somebody else goes, well, no, I don't do the, if I could, would you? I say, would you, if I could?
Right.
Totally changed it up. And I'm like, no, there's so many different ways to do that. Right. And so the car game is played out because the internet can tell us all the jokes. Right. Yep. And the internet go to YouTube and type in funny car salesman, and you're going to get a whole bunch of videos of people mocking the industry. Yeah. Okay. And we're better than that. And so
I know some really incredibly awesome people in the car business. Absolutely. I mean, amazing people.
Yeah, phenomenal individuals that are different than that. I worked with a guy, just went to his 30th anniversary. It's 30th anniversary at the same dealership.
Wow.
Right. And so Desmond Thompson's over Lexus of Cerritos. He is phenomenal. And he did an event, and the people in attendance were like execs from Lexus, myself. My bride used to work with him, so he wanted her there. Right. So he wanted to recognize her, his assistance over the years. And then all of a sudden, you look around the room and everybody is a client of his. And then several of them got up and they're like, I'm on my 6th car. I'm on my 7th car, right? You're looking at some people going, well, you're not going to make it to 8 based on your age, but with the oxygen tank and the thing, and they're like, he's the best. Yeah, and you're like, dude, he got them when they were 20. You know what I'm saying? It was like he just worked these people all the way through, and they don't buy another car because they only want what he's doing. And since he stayed at the same store, they could find him.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He did it before social media.
So if you had somebody, I mean, owning a business can be challenging, and I've been through a lot man. I had a car repossessed in front of employees once. They got paid, but I didn't.
Right.
You know, I've lost houses. You know, I mean, I've been through a lot. So, you know, if you had somebody call you up and say, dude, I'm just not making it. My car was repoed last week. Electric's being shut off today. I'm having a hard time just getting motivated. I'm falling apart here. I don't know what to do. What would you say to that person in that moment, whether they're in the car business or whatever? What would you say to them in that moment to help them break through that moment?
So I'll tell you that the first thing I would do is make it a FaceTime.
Yeah.
Right. Because they got to see that you care.
Yep.
And so I would flip it to some kind of video, some kind of way of me saying, hey, I want you to see that I'm here for you, because the biggest disconnect is that they feel alone. That's how you get to that point, right? Is that you feel like you're by yourself.
Yeah.
And so if I'm sitting there and talking with you, then the answer is what? I got to get you out of the pity party. And yeah, we do get a lot of crap. I've been through just about every single thing you've said.
Yeah.
Right. 2008 happened to a lot of us.
Oh,
and so
brutal.
when you look at that, right? I mean, all my months aren't perfect. Right. And so it's about the support system you have around you. And so if I need to be that support system to somebody, I will. Yeah. And I get people all the time, but my answer is, look, I'll send you this, right? Somebody asked me something today. They text me this morning and I sent them a podcast link of something I've already talked about. And I'm like, I want you to listen to this 5 times. And then you reach back out to me. I have a meeting until 11 o'clock today. So at 11 o'clock, I want you to reach out to me and we're going to talk about this. And so again, you can go watch Eric Thomas.
Uh-oh. What happened? Joe froze up. There you are. You're back.
Oh my God. Ooh, yeah. You know, sometimes when you drop in the knowledge, you got to turn it off, right? And everybody goes, I wonder what he said. But right there was how you perfect your life. That's what I told everybody right then. Yeah.
You said something about Eric Thomas and then you froze.
Okay. So I said, you go on YouTube, go watch a video, Eric Thomas, Tony Robbins, whatever you want to do. Cause again, you got to get out of your own head. And that's what happens is we are talking negative to ourselves. Then we turn around and keep compounding it. So you end up with negativity squared. So I say, look, okay, we all know motivation is something you got to do all the time. It's like showering. You have to keep going. And I don't believe you have internal motivation, right? I believe you have to kick it in gear so you can run with it. But if you leave the body at rest, stays at rest, right? Yeah. You're stuck in the wrong spot. I'll tell you, I can't be depressed when I'm out walking around. So out here in Orange County, I live by a lake. Yeah. So I get up, I walk around, I look over, I look at the ducks. When I walk out, I'm angry. I'm like, you have no issues, right? At those little ducks, whatever. And then if I throw food, they come to me and I'm like, look at that. I'm the Pied Piper, right? They all need me. They need me. So I feel better about me. Right. And so but the truth of the matter is if you're in a crappy place, notice I said crappy, I was trying to be polite. Yeah. If you're in a crappy place, go help somebody else.
Yep.
The second you invest in somebody else, you understand your value more.
Right.
Right. And guess what? There's always somebody in a worse shape. I don't care if you just go help somebody across the street. Right. I go feed ducks and they're grateful.
Right.
Right. And I get to go, yeah, look at that. I'm already making a difference in the life of a duck. Now maybe I can go help people.
What if you have a troll in your life and they mess with you all the time? Do you have a yellow button or anything you hit?
Oh, come on. This is what I teach companies all the time. I know you set me up on this one, right?
I did.
So I'm telling you right now, would you look at it? And so my hashtag, the one that I came up with was hashtag BBT, right? And that stands for bitches be tripping. Because they do. And it don't mean female. It just means that somebody is going to be tripping on you no matter what. You're going to have a customer. I tell people in the CRM, go put hashtag BBT at the end. It was a big blue truck they were looking for, right? If you're a Volkswagen store, it was the baby blue Tiguan. Whatever you have to do, right? But I have these little buttons, right? So my clients have these on their desk. So when a customer upsets you, just reach over and go, bitches be tripping. That's all you got to do. Yep. And so you say that, you hit that button, let it go. Let it go. Let them trip.
Oh, my God.
Sometimes I pushed them. I'm gonna be real. Sometimes I pushed him over, but
that's funny, dude. So dude, okay. So we've talked 2 or 3, 4 times on the phone, and I'm pretty sure that we're whenever we're on the phone, it's right around an hour and 19 minutes, right?
Yeah. The record is an hour and 19 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's always over an hour.
Yeah.
And it's probably just because I don't shut up. I mean, I'm pretty sure you set the phone down and just walk away. Your family's like, is that guy talking again? Yeah.
I have to walk in once in a while and go, yeah, I know what you mean, and then walk away.
Exactly. Because I don't even care about the responses. I just want to keep hearing my voice. Yeah. Sometimes when I get bored, I go to my YouTube channel and just watch my own stuff. And I'm like, he's good. That guy's good right there. Yes.
Oh my God, dude. That is so funny. So Joe, man, you're here's what's funny, man, is you have a good heart, man. You're a good dude. And I've gotten to know you a lot better, and I'm very, very grateful for that. Weldon, watch it, Weldon.
Yes, Weldon, but notice how I took over. Yes. Yeah, I'll only be on Ken's show once. Yeah. After that, he's gonna be like, no, it's not gonna happen.
I'm sitting here thinking about, I could always just click this remove from stream button here.
Nice.
I'm kidding, dude.
I have somebody that trolls me on Facebook with a made up account and always says bad things about me.
Yeah.
Right? I'm okay with it. It doesn't bother me. Yeah. I go in there and I answer politely and what have you, and then I'll threaten to not be polite, but I'm never not going to be that, right? Because somebody's going to screenshot it and that'll cost me a deal with somebody's company later.
Right.
Yeah, I have mortgage industries that I'm talking to now, so I don't want them to go on there and go, what?
Yeah.
But when I look at this and I say, okay, somebody called me the other day and says, do you know this person? I'm like, no. And they're like, he was in my office saying, oh yeah, well, like the BDC genius guy, he doesn't do da-da-da-da. And he looked at me and goes, do you know Joe? And the guy's like, oh yeah. I'm like, dude, met him once at a dealership. I kicked him out of a dealership for a GM. Right. And I'm like, what are you talking? But he goes, yeah, he started talking smack on you. And I looked, and again, but it's all about my mindset, right? I looked and I was like, yes. I told my wife, she goes, yes. And I was like, what? She goes, you got a hater. That means you're moving on up. You got a hater. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to get out there. Tracy, I know all about Fred.
Yeah.
And Tracy, what's going to be funny is that the reason we're so connected is that last year in 2019, there was 22 fake profiles that I found of me.
Yeah.
So evidently the gray hair says, trust me. But if I ever ask you for Apple gift cards, it's not me.
It's crazy what's happening with these fake profiles. And Joe and I think you and I have more fake profile. Now, I told you I literally had 22 in one day last year. Somebody, different people reporting. I'm like, what the heck is wrong with people?
Yes. What I love is that on Instagram, when they like the photo they stole. Right? Yeah. And I'm like, I don't even get that. I'm like, you liked it. I look at the little thing. It goes, it looks like I liked it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I liked my own picture. Dang, talk about vain. And then I'm like, oh no, it's some different name. And then I go out there and I feel bad for all these people because I get hate messages all the time.
Oh yeah. Give me my money back. And like,
they're like, I can't believe that your wife tolerates you with this and that. And I'm like, and I'm like, I'm sorry, what did I do to her? What's going on? Dude. And they're like, look at all these things back and forth. And I'm like, did you notice that there's never any real picture popping up? There isn't anything.
I've had people say that they FaceTimed me, that they were on a video call with me. And I'm like, no, you weren't. Wasn't me. Right. Like, yes, it was. And I'm like, no. Anyway, so
did you notice that the picture was the same and the lips just moved independently? Yeah.
I know. And
like it wasn't me.
He said he had a bad internet connection. It was real choppy, but I could see you talking. I'm like, okay. So, but you know what, man? There's all kinds of craziness. Joe, listen, man, I got to end this. Unfortunately, I'm
sure the audience is requesting that too.
No. I like keeping it close to an hour, and we're at an hour and 15. But so, dude, listen. Genuinely appreciate you. You are a freaking amazing guy. Where can everybody follow you? What's the best place?
I'm going to say if they're on Facebook or YouTube, doesn't matter. But Facebook is I'm actually Joe Ingram on Facebook. Instagram, I'm Joe_Ingram_. Right, so that's there. You'll see me. You'll probably see me with the name Brad or Fred or somebody else too. But the one that has my real name, which is Joe Ingram, is on it. My website's Ingram Interactive, and so that'll show you what I do and how I do it, and then.
And where can everybody buy one of those yellow buttons?
On the website, click on products and then click show me the goods, and you're going to go find it. And when you get this, you'll just all day. Here's the thing. When you're on the phone with the client, don't press the button.
Right. Yeah.
Okay? No. You can't sit across from the customer and go, well, this is what it's going to be. And the customer goes, I don't think so. I'll go down the street. And you're like, hey. Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that.
Don't do that. No.
But I'm going to send you yours. And then while you're interviewing people, if they say something you don't like, click. Yeah.
Dude, you rock, man. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you to everyone else that's been watching, that shared this out. Y'all rock. Joe, thank you. I
appreciate you, Ken. You know that.
Yeah, likewise, bro. All right, we'll see you guys later. Don't hang up on me.
I won't.
All right. See you guys.